You didn't get here by mistake. No matter what you were doing a few minutes ago, no matter what brought you to this message, none of it was casual. When awakened consciousness begins to move within you, it creates paths that seem like coincidence, but they are not. You were led here because something within you had already called for this exact experience, for this exact word, for this exact vibration. The universe called you here for a reason, and that reason is much greater than watching a video, listening to a message, or seeking inspiration. The reason is this: you are ready to remember who you are. You are ready to stop living as someone who watches life happen and start living as someone who knows they create everything they see. You are ready to stop accepting reality as a final decree and start treating it as the delayed reflection of your imagination. You are ready to stop asking and start commanding. And make no mistake, only those who have endured enough, suffered enough, grown tired enough of the old way of living reach this point, finally saying, "Enough. I want something new. I want what is mine by right." And when that sincere desire forms within you, the universe responds immediately. The money you seek, the change you long for, the impulse you feel within your chest. All of this is not a request you make to the universe, but a call the universe makes to you. Remember what you are. Abundance is not a prize for the few. It is everyone's nature. Most just forgot. They forgot because they got distracted by bills, deadlines, fear, scarcity, opinions, failures, comparisons. They forgot because they thought their identity was what the world said it was, not what their consciousness creates. You forgot because you were busy surviving, and surviving makes a lot of noise, but the truth never left you. It merely waited in silence until you were ready to listen again. And here you are. The time has come. The universe called you. Here for a reason, because you have finally reached the point where your inner change is worth more than your external justifications. You didn't come here to seek money. You came to seek the consciousness that attracts money. You didn't come here to seek miracles. You came to seek the state that produces miracles. And when you change your state, everything around you changes, because nothing can resist the conviction of a mind that remembers its origin. You are here because your old identity no longer fits you. It's tight. It's suffocating. And something within you begs for expansion. This is the moment you stop being an observer and return to being the creator. This is the instant you abandon the role of victim of circumstances and assume the role of the one who dictates circumstances. And that's why this message found you now, because you are ready to stop reacting to the world and start commanding it. Because you are ready to assume the state that brings money, opportunities, open doors and paths you never even imagined possible. Because you are ready to receive today, not because someone will give it to you, but because you will finally allow it. You have been called. And when the universe calls, it is because something has already been prepared. From this moment, everything changes within you, and what changes within changes everything around. This is where your abundance begins. This is where you come home. This is where you remember. Everything already is, and it is within. It is natural for the mind to want to resist this truth at first. It looks at what you are living today, observes your bills, your limitations, your losses, and tries to convince you that this is real, that this is who you are. But everything you are living now is merely an old echo, the consequence of internal states you maintained without realizing it. Nothing around you is new. Nothing just appeared. Everything is a shadow, and a shadow has no power of its own. A shadow merely repeats what the light of your consciousness projected previously. When you truly understand this, not just intellectually but emotionally, you see that there is nothing to fight in the physical world, because the physical world is incapable of initiating anything. It only responds. It's like walking into a movie theater and trying to modify the film by touching the screen. You can shout, complain, beg, fight with the image, but nothing will change until you go to the projection room and change the reel. Your life works the same way. What you are living now is the old film, the old reel of your consciousness. If there is scarcity, it is because there was a period when you accepted thoughts of lack, worry, fear. If there are obstacles, it is because you assumed them internally before they appeared in the world. People's mistake is trying to alter the projection instead of altering the source that projects. They want to change the shadow when the shadow merely obeys. And this is not to blame you, it is to liberate you. Because if everything is a consequence of your past states, then nothing in the present can imprison you. You are not condemned to repeat anything. Simply assume a new state, and the shadow will inevitably change. There is no way the physical world can resist the command of consciousness. That's why Abdullah always said, never fight conditions, assume the state. The condition is old, the state is new. The condition is effect, the state is cause. The condition is inert, the state is creator. When you start accepting this as a law, and not as a beautiful idea, you stop despairing in the face of circumstances. You look at the current reality with the serenity of someone who knows it has no choice but to transform. You begin to act with the tranquility of someone who already knows the end of the film. Because you know, if you change yourself, everything around you will necessarily have to change. There is no exception. External reality has no will of its own. It is malleable, plastic, obedient. If you maintain a state of lack, it bends to lack. If you maintain a state of abundance, it bends to abundance. The world does not create your state creates the world. And that's why, instead of seeking signs, you should become the sign. When you change your state, your life inevitably changes. It may take a few days for the shadow to organize itself, but it always obeys. Always. The first step is simple, yet powerful. Stop treating what you see as a truth. Start treating it as a reflection. And by doing so, you reclaim the power that has always been yours. This is where transformation begins. This is where money, opportunities, and open paths begin to move in your direction. Because you changed the cause, and the effect has no choice. Imagination has always been the door through which the future enters, but few use it consciously. Most people imagine without realizing they are imagining, and thus create without realizing they are creating. They spend the entire day repeating internal scenes of fear, failure, debt, humiliation, scarcity, and then are surprised when the external world confirms exactly what they silently fed. Nothing in the universe is more faithful than the human imagination. It does not fail, does not rest, does not question, it merely produces. And it will always produce according to the state you maintain when imagining, never according to your words, your requests, or your speeches of hope. Imagination is the secret language through which God operates through you. That's why you cannot imagine yourself as poor and live as rich. You cannot imagine lack and reap abundance. You cannot imagine fear and expect open doors. Imagination is the mold that defines which reality you enter. Abdullah taught Neville firmly, sit down, close your eyes, and enter the final scene. It was not a suggestion, it was a command. Because he knew that the world does not respond to what you desire, but to what you assume as already fulfilled. If you mentally see yourself paying a debt, you reinforce the state of someone who has debts to pay. If you see yourself receiving unexpected money, you assume the state of someone who is already provided for. Everything depends on the scene you repeat, not once, but until it becomes so natural that you feel it as true, even without external evidence. Many say, I imagine, but nothing happens. But the problem is not with imagination, it is with the quality of the imaginative act. You don't just imagine with your mind, you imagine with emotion. It is emotion that seals the state. A person who imagines wealth while feeling fear is still imagining scarcity. A person who imagines opportunities while feeling doubt is still imagining failure. Imagination is the command, but feeling is the signature. Without it, the request is not sent. With it, the universe responds immediately. And this is where most fail. They imagine as spectators, when they should imagine as participants. It's not watching the scene, it's entering it. It's not seeing yourself receiving, it's feeling yourself receiving. It's not observing the change, it's inhabiting it. When you breathe within the scene, when you feel the texture of what you desire, when you savor the relief as if it has already happened, imagination ceases to be fantasy and becomes creation, and creation demands that visible reality bends. Do you want to receive money today? Then stop waiting for the world to bring it, and start feeling that it has already arrived. Imagine the deposit, but feel the relief. Imagine the opportunity, but feel the certainty. Imagine the bill paid, but feel the gratitude. The physical world is slow, but imagination is immediate, and the world always catches up to what you sign internally. If you want to change your life, start by changing the inner film, because it is through that door that your future enters. It always has, it always will. Appearances will always try to convince you that they are the final truth. Always. Your bank balance, the pile of bills, the absence of opportunities, delays, silence, closed doors, all of this screams as if it has absolute authority, as if saying, this is how your life is, accept it. But none of this has a life of its own. None of this can decide who you are. The conditions you see today are merely photographs of what you believed yesterday, frozen images of states you once held and that have now lost the right to command your future. The mistake is treating them as decrees when they are merely materialized memories. When you look too much at appearances, you hypnotize yourself. You forget that everything that exists in the physical world arrived late. You forget that nothing before you is new. It's all past. You are seeing today yesterday's thought, yesterday's emotion, yesterday's fear, yesterday's assumption. How could this have power over your now? The truth is that appearance only dominates those who believe in it. Abdullah used to say, "Stop consulting the flesh." Flesh means the visible. The visible always lies, not out of malice, but because it's delayed. It only shows what has already been decided, never what is being created now. That's why, when you see a difficulty, you should not react as if it were permanent. Reacting is reaffirming, fearing is reinforcing, arguing is feeding. Every time you surrender to what you see, you prolong the shadow. But when you stand firm in your internal state, even with appearances screaming otherwise, you begin to dissolve the old reality, because it cannot survive without your attention. Appearance feeds on attention. When you withdraw it, it dies. The world changes when you stop looking at it as an enemy and start seeing it for what it truly is, an obedient mirror. It does not think, does not decide, does not evaluate. It merely reflects. So why fight with the reflection if what matters is the inner image? You can spend years trying to fix the exterior, but a single instant of inner change is worth more than 1,000 external efforts. When you abandon appearances, you abandon delay. You begin to live in the real present, the present that creates, not the present that repeats. And this is exactly where many people experience their first great leap. Because it's when you stop being scared by what you see and start relying on what you know. When you look at an empty bank account and think, "This is old." When you see difficulty and think, "This doesn't define me." When you see delay and think, "This is already being replaced." That moment is a breakthrough. Appearance loses its power. And when it loses power over you, it loses power over your life. This is how the invisible begins to become visible. This is how change arrives. This is how you stop being commanded by shadow and return to commanding the light. Silent discipline is where many stumble because it demands something few are willing to practice: permanence. Not permanence of physical effort, nor of struggle, nor of sacrifice, but permanence of state. Most people can even imagine something new for a few minutes, but quickly return to the old state when reality doesn't immediately change. They imagine today and undo it tomorrow. They believe for a few hours and doubt for the rest of the day. They plant a seed and rip it from the earth before it can germinate. And then they say that nothing works. But it wasn't the law that failed. It was the discipline that didn't exist. Discipline here is not rigidity. It is faithfulness to the new state. It is continuing to feel the desired reality even when nothing in the world confirms it. It is holding firm internally while the external still looks the same. It is gently maintaining what you have decided to be, even when conditions provoke you to return to your old self. It is a silent loyalty to your future, a confidence so profound that it needs no proof because the proof has already been accepted within you. True discipline is permanence. It is waking up and assuming the state. It is remembering it throughout the day, not as an effort, but as a natural return to what you have chosen. It is falling asleep in it every night, knowing that sleep is the most powerful time to consolidate a new reality. Neville learned this directly from Abdullah. Sleep in the desired state and the world will have no choice, because sleep seals everything. The sleeping mind does not argue, does not question, does not doubt. It simply accepts. And what it accepts, the world must reflect. This permanence does not need to be hard or heavy. It is gentle yet constant. You don't need to repeat phrases 1,000 times, nor force emotions, nor punish yourself for wavering. All you need to do is return, and return to the chosen state whenever you realize you've left it. This simple repetition over days is enough to rewrite entire destinies, because a state maintained with constancy compels the exterior to reorganize itself. There is no possibility of failure when there is permanence. The visible world, sooner or later, always yields. And when you practice this silent discipline, you start to notice something extraordinary. Things begin to move effortlessly. Doors that were closed open without explanation. People appear with opportunities you didn't seek. Money appears in ways you never imagined. Paths that were once blocked become simple. Not because you fought, but because you persisted. The universe responds to constancy, not to anxiety. It responds to the sustained state, not to the desperate plea. And when you remain faithful to what you have chosen to be internally, external reality has no alternative but to obey. Always. You no longer need to ask, beg, wait, or suffer for what you desire. Everything you seek already exists, is already ready and is already available in the only place where creation happens, within you. The external world was never the obstacle. The obstacle was always forgetting your true position as creator. Now that you have remembered, there is no longer any reason to live as someone at the mercy of circumstances. There is no longer any room for the old, limited, fearful identity. You have already seen that everything that exists externally is merely a reflection of the state you assume as true. And if that is the case, then you are not bound to anything, absolutely nothing. Every possibility is before you, awaiting only your silent acceptance. Stop negotiating with the old reality. Stop reacting to what you see. Stop asking for external changes while internally preserving the same state as before. The universe can only respond to what you are, not to what you say you want. And now is the moment to be. Not tomorrow, not when the deposit comes in, not when opportunities appear, but now in this instant. Assume within yourself the posture of one who has already received. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the tranquility of one who already has. Enter the state and remain there. External reality, obedient as always, will follow you. Abandon the habit of begging for signs. You are not a creature seeking approval. You are the cause moving the universe. It is not the world that determines who you are. It is you who determines what the world must reflect. And when you command in silence with conviction, the universe responds without resistance. Everything bends to the assumed state. Everything reorganizes around the identity you sustain. Everything begins to flow in the direction of the one who finally remembers their inheritance. So from this moment, decide. Decide to be now what you wish to see manifested. Decide to walk as one who has already received. Decide to trust as one who has already won. Decide to exist in the end, because it is in the end that creation is completed. And when you do this, when you truly assume the position that has always been yours, you will see that nothing was far away, nothing was difficult, nothing was blocked. Everything was waiting for your consciousness to awaken, receive, today, now, internally. Because when you receive within, the world has no alternative. It merely confirms.